I'm here. Hi, everybody. Don't want you to see behind me. Um, what's it called? The couch is covered in stuff. I went to a vintage pop-up sale last weekend, and I still haven't cleared it off of my couch. I just kind of put everything out there. I did find some amazing things, though. I found this lovely fur coat, which unfortunately I found has a little repair that's needed, but still it's a gorgeous pattern rabbit fur coat. It's very warm and cute and cozy. Very warm. I wore it out once already when it was pretty cold here and felt amazing. I've been kind of wanting a fur for a while, and I think I might. I'm still looking for another. I want one that's a bit longer, but that was a great find, and I got a nice vintage dress, some other things. I think a set of earrings. So yeah, it was. And I went to a few other shops in the area, so that was nice. This was just after the big snow started to melt and I was able to get out for the first time. It's been a rough month, I tell you. It did not go the way I expected. I found myself kind of inside a lot more than I anticipated, and then I had to do some continuing education courses, 27 hours, which I completed. I started last Wednesday and completed on Monday. So that was a lot to get through in a short period of time. I had to get it done, by the end of this month, since it's related to my birth date. They renew your license on the month of your birth. So that was a lot to get through. But yeah, I hadn't been on here in a while. And since I was going to be sitting here working on my nails, I thought, let's do a live, talk about some things. I had some stuff I kind of wanted to share and respond to as well. So should be on for a little bit. I do have a meeting at 7:00 my time, though, so I'll be heading out before that. But still, nice to come on and say hi and catch up with everyone here at the Terri Strange channel. So let's see. My last video got some interesting responses. I think I can go into that. I think it was my last one. I know I recently did a new video on polyamory and open relationships, and I had some interesting responses. So I thought, we'll go over those today. I also had a brief video I wanted to share with everyone. And, just general chat. We will see how it goes. It's just supposed to be an informal hangout and go over a few things. And yeah, the title of this live, been on my mind lately. Been thinking about Proverbs 31. Thinking about Proverbs 31, thinking about as well, a few years back on this channel, it's still up. I did a kind of review and discussion live about the book, A Vindication of the Rights of Woman. And then I've also been thinking about Aristotle, Aristotle's ethics. So relating this to Proverbs 31, the Proverbs 31 woman. So maybe we'll go over that today. I don't know. I think it ties all in together pretty well because this, it's an interesting subject matter. But of course, we may stray from the subject. Proverbs 31. Well, we'll get started there. Oh dear. I haven't turned off my monitors, so I just heard a sound from my Teams messages. but I'm not working anymore. I got my task done. Don't mess with me. End of the month is always crazy at my job because we have to get everything caught up, to a certain standard. We just had so many new things come in this week on top of my continuing education. So we'll start with me here. I'll read Proverbs 31. Why not? Sounds nice. So there's this idea of the Proverbs 31 woman. Men often talk about wanting to find Proverbs 31 woman, and it's a beautiful. It really is a beautiful chapter it's the last chapter of Proverbs. Oh, have fun with your friends, Seth. Be sure to leave a comment later. But thanks for checking in and saying hi. Okay, let's see. Let's see. So it has 31 verses. I'll read through them all. It's beautiful. I sometimes get choked up because, it just makes me think about, the women that I know in my life and how they kind of women just nurture, so much in our world. And it's kind of one of those things that makes me think about like, what impact am I having on other people, that kind of thing. So it's pretty deep, but yeah. And this is from the New King James Version, which is my preferred version. I think it's beautiful the way it's written. That is what's most important to me. How does it sound when I read it out loud? How does it make me feel? The words of King Lemuel, the utterance which his mother taught him. Okay. What, my son, and what, son of my womb, and what, son of my vows? Do not give your strength to women, nor your ways to that which destroys kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes intoxicating drink, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the justice of all the afflicted. Give strong drink to him who is perishing, and wine to those who are of a bitter heart. Let him drink and forget his poverty, and remember his misery no more. Open your mouth for the speechless in the cause of all who are appointed to die. Open your mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy. The virtuous wife. Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She also rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and a portion for her maidservants. She considers a field and buys it. From her profits, she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good, and her lamp does not go out by night. She stretches out her hands to the distaff, and her hand holds the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow, for all her household is clothed with scarlet. She makes tapestry for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies sashes for the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing. But a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. So, yeah, just thinking about that. I remember in Mary Wollstonecraft's work, A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, she made the argument that women are not able to pursue virtue because of the ways that we are made dependent. You know, our lack of independence as creatures leads to a lack of virtue because we don't have to strengthen ourselves. And with the Proverbs 31 woman, she seems to be rather, she has her own thing going on. She runs her own businesses. She, manages her household. She's not idle. She keeps busy and she does good things with her hands, and she makes sound investments with her time and her work. She's able to contribute not only to her household, but to her community at large. She's, someone who can be relied on. So it's interesting to me, thinking about, the industriousness of women throughout history. Women have, again, this comes up so many times, but it is the conversation around, women working or not. Women work. Women have always worked. Women will always work. The thing is, our work is often not seen, but I think this is a passage that speaks to the ways in which women and their contribution to society, it speaks to the impact we have. And I think, in Mary Wollstonecraft's day, women didn't have, it was a period of repression. You have to understand that too. Like, women had been freer in the past than they were at that time in at least England, where this work, was produced. Women previously had a lot more personal freedom, and, in centuries prior had their own, businesses and were more active in public life. But there came, more of a condensing of the patriarchal order, which, is tied, people don't really make this connection, but it is tied to the witch hunts and trials that had a serious impact on European culture, at least Western European culture, where these things went on. Obviously, it didn't happen in every, country, but it definitely had an impact in England and the British Isles, as well as even, extending into the Americas. And a lot of the things that happened in that time historically, apart from like removing women from kind of public life in many ways, this also was a way of getting people off of the common lands. So there was this economic changes underfoot with the privatization of, public resources that were known as the commons. And it's just, it dealt with a change in industry. And the thing about that is it required a kind of very intense patriarchal order to usher in kind of the industrial revolution that came from all of that. So anyway, Mary Wollstonecraft, I was just thinking about that today. Her statements that because of the society, women just couldn't be virtuous, meaning they couldn't, there were so many ways that that kind of dependence women had. When you don't have any independence as an individual, when you don't have your own industry, when you kind of are just a doll, the thing that comes from that is you don't really have an ability to make your case. You kind of have to just go along with the people that are taking care of you and providing for you. And that creates a false self, because obviously, as a human being, you're not going to go along or agree with everything that's happening. But what choice do you really have? So because of that, and other things too, I don't want to harp on Wollstonecraft all night. You know, it's been years since I've read the book, but it just kind of came up in my mind today, you know, thinking about this idea. Who can find a virtuous woman? She is worth far more than rubies. Okay. Yeah. When we can't express ourselves honestly, then everything else falls apart. You know, no virtue can be built on a bed of lies. And I think that's often how women have to live when they don't have this kind of inner virtue. And then, you know, the other thing about the Proverbs 31 woman, you know, she fears the Lord. You know, she's not afraid of anything else than God and what God is going to judge her as. And I think that's, again, that's where virtue comes from. You know, we have to have a fear of the consequences of our actions on our spirits. So it's deep. It's pretty deep. Deep stuff. So, okay. Hi, everyone. I just want to say, S.A. Brady's here. Amy is here. Gigi is here. Good to see you all. So let's kind of, I'm going to pull up, I think, the comments that came up on my last video. I kind of wanted to respond to those because they were ridiculous. I mean, not all of them. Some of you gave some interesting feedback, but I heard from some polyamorous people. So oh my goodness, people were chatting. Okay, let's see if I can share this. Okay, let's see. Now, how visible is this with StreamYard? Just looking. Okay, yeah, here we go. Huh. Good times. All right. There's another siren. I've heard a few today. I don't know what's going on. I hope everyone's okay out there. You know, little prayers for y'all out there in the world. Anybody who's being impacted there, just hope they're okay. All right, yeah. So this was the most recent one. This Eliza Krivas, whatever. It's so weird to me that people exist who actually believe we are all the same, feel the same, think the same, and therefore should act in the same way. Monogamy is correct because I say it is. As a monoamorous person, narcissistic much. I just, this word is really overused. Can I just say that? Like every time I hear somebody just casually throw out the word narcissism anymore, I tend to kind of just, I don't know. It's like a red flag to me. It is. And if you get out on the internet, you put your ideas out, you make any sort of content. I just have to say, over the years, it's something that comes up. People call me a narcissist because of how I express myself or whatever. And let me just say this. I am the kind of person, like, you really choose your adventure with me. I match energy. So if you're toxic, I'll be toxic back. Like, that's just generally how it goes. At this point in my life, I don't really have the energy for it. So generally, I just try to avoid people. But like, if you think I'm a narcissist, I don't care. Like, you probably deserved whatever narcissistic trait you think I exposed to you. Like, honestly, it's just so juvenile. Take responsibility for yourself. But anyway, and I didn't even see the responses where Tanisha, thank you for standing up for me. Shout out to Tanisha. She gave several examples in her videos of women getting screwed over from open relationships. So there are also plenty of women who get screwed over from monogamous relationships. It goes both ways. I've never seen it go another way with polyamorous relationships. And I'm just saying, like, I have observed this, okay? It's not as if, I'm just theorizing about this. I have collected data from my observations, and this is what I've noticed. Is it every single person out there in the world? Probably not, but I notice trends, I notice tendencies, and honestly, most people, I feel, are monogamous or do better in monogamy. And, it's a choice. This is the other thing about it. This is a choice. You make a choice to live this lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle. Monogamy is also a lifestyle. I'm judging you for your choices. People always want to make their choices into their identity. Your choice is not your identity. I'm really just, your lifestyle choices are not your identity. And if you think they are, you really should slow down and think about that. Don't make your lifestyle choices your identity. You are an individual, period. I am not monoamorous. I'm not whatever label you're going to put on me. I'm a human being observing reality and making certain judgments on it. So, yeah, I just find these kind of like, yeah. I can list a lot of problems with monogamous relationships. I would love to see them. And I want to see, like, what happens in monogamy that is worse than what happens in polyamory. Most people, I think, are looking for security in relationships and loyalty, and these things just are not present with polyamory. They just aren't. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm not here to convince anybody who is committed to that lifestyle, but I also have to wonder, like, why they even bother to stop by and leave like comments just insulting me. I'm not trying to insult anybody, but I have to say, like, your lifestyle sketches me out. Like, it does. Here we go. We have a 30-year polyamorous person. Okay, so here's another one. This 30 years. I mean, God. Aren't you tired of living in that hell yet? But okay. I am polyamorous and have been going on 30 years, with relationships going from almost that time span to a decade to several years for the newest partner. Ugh. It's not for everyone, but I find that the people who bitterly criticize us invariably know nothing of polyamory, and most are deeply unhappy in their own lives. So again, making it about me and my own unhappiness. I am not devoid of unhappiness. There's much unhappiness that happens in my life, but I'm also full of joy. I'm a complicated person. I have the, range of human emotions, and I make room and space for the negative ones as well as the positive ones. I'm just here to experience that. But anyway, like, I just don't know. It's like, again, and maybe this is me. And there was a time when I just stopped letting comments on my channel because it can be poisonous. Sometimes reading stuff and the way people kind of craft their comments, I don't always know what they mean. And sometimes people are personal, like the narcissistic comment or here, like implying that because I have, I don't know, maybe they're not accusing me of bitterly criticizing, but I was criticizing. So I don't know here, like, but I do know something of polyamory. I have no desire to live it, but I've, dealt with people who are polyamorous. I didn't talk about it in this video, but in a previous, or in my like first relationship, that person was polyamorous, and they decided not to be for some time so that they could, pursue a relationship with me until they found somebody else they wanted to chase. And that was a damaging experience for me, So yeah, I've had a negative experience from a poly person, like lying to me. When I was, very young and just getting started in like relationships, I had no idea like what to expect. To me, again, and to me, it's about choice. Like, choice. It is a choice. You make a choice about, whether you commit to someone or not. You make a choice about the type of relationship you have. I'm not going to be like, and even to my mind then, I just thought, okay, this person is choosing, me. But now I'm a lot more wary because I understand that, again, people make identities out of their lifestyle choices. And when people do that, they, there's a bit of, you can't trust them about anything, regardless. Again, this isn't just applicable to poly people. The people who make their lifestyle their identity really, they're putting the cart before the horse. That's an interesting question, Gigi. I don't know what to make of that. Like, yeah, that's an interesting question. I think it's, because there's people I admire who've been divorced, a number of times. I really love, like, for example, Elizabeth Taylor is just an icon to me. I love her. I love, studying her, watching her films, and just the lore of her life. And she was married, 8 times, I think. And to me, like in her case, it was just the era. It was a lot more common, like when you liked someone and you were going steady with them, that you would get married. And, her divorces, I don't know, it just seemed kind of like natural. But I wouldn't say that she was polyamorous. She seemed to be, I just think maybe she made some wrong choices. I don't see it as exactly the same thing, I guess, even though you could say that you can make an argument that, if you're married, you're still married to multiple people. And I guess, it really depends on how technical you want to be with it. I will say, I do think marriages can be dissolved. So I'll say that, but I still think that, there is, if somebody doesn't stop having been your marriage partner, your husband or your wife. I just don't think it's the same. But I do think it's weird, and it is a bit of a red flag. But I do think, like with someone like Elizabeth Taylor, for example, I just think she was, a romantic, for example. I think she really believed in love and marriage, and she kept giving it a shot, even though she wasn't very successful at it. And I think some people just maybe have a more passionate nature about them, maybe are harder to be in relationship with. Some people are very strenuous as partners. I think that too, you have to understand that marriages dissolve for a number of reasons. And, there's just so many things that can happen. So I try to give people grace, but I don't know, it's difficult. I always wonder, like, am I open to dating somebody who's been divorced or something? And I don't really know. I thought I was, but I'm not so sure anymore. I'm kind of at a point in my life where I'm questioning a lot of things that, I think maybe previously that wouldn't have been a problem to me, but now maybe as I've gotten older and a bit more serious, I think I would really want to understand why someone divorced and what I thought of their reasoning, and how also they think they view their ex is kind of important. But maybe I'm getting off topic from your question there. I don't know, Gigi, did I answer your question, or is there something more specific you're getting at? Anyway, let's continue. So yeah, this person, the fact that some of us are happy galls them to no end. The vast majority of them are male incels who cannot get or even keep one partner. But I don't stress about those people. They have nothing to contribute to my life, and they will never have any power over me. I do what I do and enjoy my life deeply. Well, here we go. Happiness is not a virtue. And I think maybe I wanted to include this in this topic today because I'm thinking about the subject of virtue. But yeah, when people ever, brag about their happiness, I do what I do. It makes me happy. What makes me happy is what matters. Yes, to a certain extent, that is true. But, it isn't a virtue or a goal in and of itself. And I find that people who chase happiness as a virtue in and of itself are lost. Because it's irrelevant at the end of the day, like how you feel, the virtue and quality of the life you're living. Sometimes, you have to think about like the history of humankind, and you have to think about the people who've made the biggest impact in the world and the people who have done the most to advance us as a species. Were they prioritizing their happiness? For a virtuous life, you have to get up every day and just keep going and doing the right thing, regardless of how you feel about it. Maybe, and this is the thing too with, talking about divorce, polyamory, virtue in relationships, monogamy, all of these concepts, like it's not always fun. Being loyal doesn't always feel good. Being monogamous sometimes doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it requires sacrifice from you. Maybe sometimes, it's your relationship is difficult. You can't have a really long-term relationship with someone and not go through more challenging times, it's inevitable that you will go through hardship together. But like, I think there's something to be said for like fidelity. I just do. It's not only, it's about your strength of character. It really is. And sometimes having the people with the strongest characters are willing to go through deprivation, hardship, and not being happy sometimes, because they know that that's not the ultimate goal. And when you have a family as well, like, we're talking about situations with like married people with children, or even people who do not have children. Like, children need to have that modeled for themselves. And I don't think people realize that as well. Like, children need to learn that you do have to sacrifice for others, for the good of others, and because ultimately it is your own good. It is your own good. Doing right by others is doing right by yourself. And I know we live in a fallen world and nothing's perfect, and people make mistakes and people err. And, a lot of the times it isn't easy to live up to the ideal and people falter. But, these ideals are in place for a reason. And when we go too far off of them, like, we get into this hedonistic territory of just chasing our happiness, chasing our bliss, chasing our joy. It's so empty. It is empty. There's no greater strength of character that comes from indulging ourselves, and I don't know. I hope that everyone that he speaks of in these relationship entanglements Ken here is, I hope everyone is doing well, but what is the likelihood of that? Yes, that is a great point. And hello, Split Seconds. Welcome to the chat. Evil people have also lived doing things that made them happy. Indeed, it's not everything. It really isn't. Yes, I agree with that. Again, the reasons why a marriage dissolves are important, I think, to consider. And I wouldn't fault a person though. Like, I guess, I'm understanding, I'm an understanding person. I can put myself in other people's shoes and kind of consider, what they're dealing with. I don't try to put my beliefs about that on, another person's life. Because I don't know, maybe I don't know what the situation is. Nobody really knows unless they're in it. But yeah, I think one should take their marriage covenant seriously. It is serious, and it is a vow that you make with another person before God, I think. And God needs to be a part of that. But I think too, there can be situations that become untenable, and divorce does have to be pursued just for the good of the individuals involved. It's kind of like, sometimes you have to operate on someone, and they may be impacted by that operation. Maybe it's going to be, something that's going to, hurt, but keep them alive and keep them going better. So yeah, I think one should take it seriously. Divorce is a big deal. It is. And I think there's a casual kind of attitude about it in our culture. People seem to be getting divorced for very stupid reasons, I don't want to say stupid, but you hear some of them talk sometimes, and it's like, how are you even married, if you're this immature about things? Because adult life is boring. It's not exciting. It's not there to, again, make you happy all the time. But, if you endure it and you do it well and you treat it with honor, it will be its own reward in time. That's sweet, Amy. That's sweet. See, yeah, I mean, it's such a great thing. It's such a great thing. Marriage is a beautiful thing. I think it brings out the best in people, or it has the potential to. It does. It has the potential to really bring out the best in people because, again, it's about service to another person, for a higher ideal. So anyway, I don't know. I just, okay. So here's another one. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I didn't even get into this. I didn't see people were people are like responding to one another. Okay. So, how do I do this? Wow. How subversive. And referring to me. 95% of the population is into monogamy because we are programmed by society to hopelessly pursue that. So why crack down on the 5% trying to break away from their programming? Am I cracking down on you? Have you been hurt by my little video? Did that hurt you when I made my little video? Did that take away your rights? Do you feel infringed upon? I'm so sorry that my discussion of how I see your behavior, has impacted you so greatly. What is with people? Like, really? Why try to frame nonconformity as propaganda when the reverse is true? What is the end goal of policing nonconformist thought and behavior? Again, I'm not policing you. I'm not trying to take away your right to do what you do. What I'm trying to do with my video is reach the people who are coming to me to understand my worldview. I'm trying to influence them with what I've seen. This is, again, these are just observations I've made based on people I have known, things I have witnessed. Again, this is not some rumor I've heard. These are real relationships, real people I've met and known throughout my lifetime who are engaging in these behaviors that really aren't good for them. And I want to help other people understand the reasons why they should avoid this for numerous reasons, because what is presented as a radical, nonconformist sort of sentiment and approach to life really ends up further enslaving people. This is the thing about doing things in the wrong way. This is the thing about the nature of sin itself. It enslaves us. It enslaves us. It makes us become just out of control in our lives. And we become lost in it. And I think that regardless of whether or not, people buy into this, by and large, it's having enough of an impact on the people that I see who are buying into it that I'm going to take notice. This is, oh, wow. Big facts, Alex. That is a good point. yes, if you want to build wealth, marriage will help you do it because you are a team when you get married. If you want to improve your finances, get married. This is well known. This is well known. And this is why I get really offended when I, get in contact with like the red pill, MGTOW, the men's rights aspect of the internet that is so prevalent here, when they start whining and complaining about having to pay their wives off when they get divorced. They keep whining like, she took my money, she took half my money. I'm like, dude, you never would have had that money. You never would have earned what you earned if you hadn't been married. That support system that you were in, and I'm sure there's exceptions to this rule. I know not every woman out there is virtuous. I know there are lazy women. But by and large, these men that you see online, they just, most of the time, anybody complaining in these regards, blaming the other sex for, all the evils in the world, putting them down, that kind of thing. These people aren't healthy, and they're fixated on how they feel personally victimized instead of looking at the situation objectively, seeing how they contributed to it. If you're a man and your wife divorces you, they always say it's no fault divorce. Trust me, you don't want to go back to the times when there wasn't no fault divorce, because then your dirty laundry gets aired. Okay. So no fault divorce really does help preserve the dignity of the people involved. If you were, let's say, I don't know, unfaithful to your wife, which, is pretty common, for example, do you really want that getting out when you get divorced? Or wouldn't you rather she just walk away cleanly without dragging your name in the mud? Honey, Gigi, money makes everything in life easier. Marriage, divorce, everything. There's no life that a little extra money doesn't make better. Hey, you ain't going outside and you're not getting another can of cat food. So you can just stop whining. That's what you can do. Did y'all hear that? That was ridiculous. You gonna do it again? I ain't listening to you if you're gonna act that way. You best come back here and look me in the eye and say it. Ridiculous. Anyway, yeah, back to this comment. So yeah, I'm such a non-conformist. Oh, God. Conformists aren't the biggest cowards. Status quo warriors are. I guess that's me, a status quo warrior. Yeah, Terri Strange is the status quo warrior. Yeah. But traditionalism, or whatever you want to call the ideology that defines the socially right wing, has always been unequivocally wrong. It is not based on well-being or science. It's faith-based. It's dead on arrival. Well, okay. There's a lot to unpack there. I don't know why he assumes I'm a right-winger. Like, why do people just assume you're a right-winger if you support the right thing? I'm not, again, please don't label me. Please do not label me. I'm conservative about certain things. I am, not about others. I'm an individual. I'm a free thinker. I don't subscribe to any political party or affiliation. Okay. I've been all over. I don't want to say I've been all over the map. I come from a pretty staunch left-wing background. I identified as a communist for years. Radical feminism as well was a big influence in my life. I understand like the left wing. I understand like really out there radical left wing thinking. Okay. It's not a right wing or a left wing thing for me. I've always felt that non-monogamy is silly, regardless of where I stood on the political spectrum. For me right now, where am I at politically? I think, my politics are concerned with my country and my concerns about, the situation that we're finding ourselves in as a nation. Honey, no, you're not going to get more food. You're not going outside. No, why are you crying at me? You know I'm live. I ain't been live in a while. Well, you're not going to get more food. I don't want no fat boy in my house. Okay. And we wonder why why this channel remains, underground. My baby. I love you. I love the kitty. I love him. Everything about him is good. But he's not going to get more food. Okay? I don't want no fat boy. I don't want no fat boy jumping on my bed, laying on my chest. Hi, Chris. Yeah, I don't know if I'm familiar with you, but welcome to the chat. I have a conservative feel. I think I'm naturally conservative. I would say I'm conservative with a small c, I'm conservative by my nature, I think, more than like politically, I would say, although sometimes those things can align. But, to call me right wing, I just think is so like cheap. It's so dismissive. And, it's a way that people kind of, again, just categorize others so they don't have to listen to the truth that they're saying. Like, before I'm anything, I'm a person and I'm observing reality as I see it. And that's what I try to do with the things I share here on this channel. S.A. Brady says I'm astrologically conservative. That's true. Capricorn is Saturnian. Capricorn is Saturnian. And that is a restrictive, conservative placement. It's old-fashioned. It's the best. I love Capricorn placements. I love Saturn. Saturn is, wise. Some people don't like dealing with Saturn. Some people dread it, but Saturn is what's going to push you to the next level. Saturn is, the parts of you that are, things that are going to make you strong. And again, strength of character. What is a Gemini politically? I mean, Geminis come in all ranges, but Mercury, so ruled by Mercury, I think Geminis would be like kind of, I don't know, enigmas. They, again, they would be split in certain ways. They may agree, they may be conservative, but they maybe are like progressive on certain social issues, or, they may be liberal, but, conservative about certain things. I think they would be, nuanced. A Gemini is able to see things from, Gemini is able to examine things from multiple viewpoints. So I think, ultimately they'd just be a troll, at the end of the day, trolling everyone, making sure nobody takes themselves too seriously, but, for God, in a way that is, to be revealing. It's interesting. Like, did I say hi to Play It So Fast? Hi, hun. Okay. So I know Play It So Fast, and I think Gigi, who's here, I met you both in like Jesse Lee Peterson's chat, I think, right? So he is a Gemini, and he is like perfect example of this. Geminis, I love Gemini, honestly. I'll just say this, Capricorn and Gemini. I don't want to go off on astrology here. I'm trying to move away from that. But, I studied it for years. But like Geminis are surprising. They're highly intelligent. I love a Gemini just for that alone. And I think I always bond with Geminis because, people don't often get them because they're not deep enough to, I think is usually it, I don't say that. Oh, but I do see that they struggle to be understood because people expect you to be all one way or the other, and nobody really is. But most people don't want to admit that. So, but what Gemini does is Gemini people forced you to deal with the contradiction. So, like, thank them for that role. They will confront the contradictions. And that's, again, when we talk about a person's sun sign, that is just the role you're playing in the general community you're involved in, right? So most people know their sun sign, what sign was in the sky or that the sun was in at the time of your birth. Most people know that in terms of Western astrology. So think about that with your role. What is your role? Who are you? How do you show up with others? And you find that these things generally align. But yeah, just to speak about being astrologically conservative, I am a Capricorn woman, yes. But I also, my rising and moon are in Jupiter. So I also have that benefic sort of quality as well. Saturn is malefic and Jupiter is benefic. So there's that kind of expansive energy. And that's kind of, I think, what attracts me to the creative pursuits, although Capricorn is creative, but generally that's more towards the industrious side. But, Sagittarius is kind of flamboyant in their creativity, and they also are big sharers. They want to share what they know, and they're also very philosophical. So anyway. Morrissey started as left-leaning, and now the world has changed, and he is deemed right-wing. I know but he hasn't really changed. Like, if you look at him over decades, he hasn't really changed. It's the culture that's changed. I love Morrissey too. Another Gemini, King. Oh, love him. Somebody recently shared on my Facebook a video of him where he's talking about Germaine Greer, and he was defending Germaine Greer. He put her on the cover of his Back on the Chain Gang cover that came out a few years ago. But most of you know, and for those of you who don't know, Germaine Greer was some years ago in the UK. She was living there, and she was basically made an example of for some statements she made, basically confirming that she believes that men are male and women are female, and that she isn't really, she's always been very critical about transgenderism for decades. She's been out, like her book, The Whole Woman, she details that. But she was, taken on television, kind of derided for that, and she actually had to leave the country. So he was speaking out in defense of her, and this is what I love about him, and what I think people don't really, he is such an important figure, and this is why I'm such a big fan. Because apart from his work, which is so beautiful, he is a poet that he's my friend. I don't think people understand that when you're a fan of someone like Morrissey, and especially his, his solo work, and just, you've kept up with him for over the years. Morrissey has been my friend when I had no others. Dealing with the kind of dark, depressive moods that I've had in my life, he was there, and he kind of kept pointing me toward life. And that's so important. And I think that's what he gives a lot of his, fans. And that's why he refers to us as friends. And I think he knows that deep, spiritual connection he has with us because of that. So music is transformative, but he's he's just so important. I don't like Morrissey. He's kind of base, though. Well, you need to give him another few shots because he is so lovable. Yes, but anyway, to say this about him specifically, one thing I really appreciate about him is how he stands up for women. He has always done that his entire career. He's always been, friends with difficult women. He has women as heroes as well. And I think that's really important to see. I don't think Morrissey gets enough credit for kind of, a lot of the gender politics that we have in our modern era. But like the fact that he as a man was putting women up as heroes and idolizing women. I mean, men do this, but it's not really talked about much. But he has always been like very, and he gives platform to and wants to work with women, and he's been a friend to women who, for whatever reason were deemed difficult or, too out there. He's been friends with those kind of women, and he's also like spoken out in favor of women like Germaine Greer or women like J.K. Rowling, who are being like really persecuted for believing in reality. So anyway, I know I saw that he has been hospitalized in Zurich, and he's going to be there for a few weeks. So let's just include him in your prayers. He's a precious person. He's 63 years old. He's a cancer survivor at this point, and he's a vegan, so he's not very healthy. So just pray for him. I love him. He means a lot to me. What songs do I like? Check out so hard. I mean, I listened to his full albums, but maybe if you want to check out his solo career, I would suggest songs like My Love Life. Let's see. I love the album Vauxhall and I mean, that whole album is great. But I love the last song on it. What's it called? Speedway. It's very triumphant. What else? His first solo album, Late Night Maudlin Street, is just gut wrenching, beautiful. Yeah, I know. I think that's something about him that's special too. Like beautiful, very positive, very, very strong songs. As well, he released an album in 2017 called Low in High School. Is that it? Excuse me for not remembering. But yeah, that album is quite something. He is very political in it. So if you're interested in politics, I would suggest check out that album. It's also very good. It's just quite a few fun songs. He's just unique. I don't know what else to say about him. And I love that he's kind of stepping more into his kind of like role as an iconic singer, because that's kind of who he is. But anyway, let's go back to this comment that I'm dealing with here. Oh yeah, it's something about the faith-based thing. Faith-based. It's faith-based. So it's dead on arrival. I mean, there is no. I mean, I just feel for people like in this state. Oh, Chris, come on. you know that it's not healthy to be vegan. As a biblical woman, yeah, okay. Let's be real here. I don't, again, just like with the non monogamy thing, I have observed vegans. I've observed what their health problems are. I've observed that they have tendencies towards all sorts of ailments. They also have, premature aging, and they also tend to have really severe dental and digestive issues. Like, yeah, I was a vegetarian for years as well, and I think it contributed to the early development of the disease I have. I don't think if I had been eating a proper diet with meat in it that I would have gotten as sick and as badly sick as I did. So I can't advocate for it. I take it very seriously. I get, I do have friends that are vegan, I will say that. And it's one of those things I try to just let them be and if they've made that choice, they've made that choice. I understand why they've made the choice, but it's not healthy. And I would never, if someone's to ask me directly, is this healthy? I can't say that it is just based on what I've observed. Just like with non-monogamy, I can't say it's healthy. I've observed it. It's not. Okay, so forever monogamy is not possible because even if you find the perfect person for you, who you are and who they are is going to change after around 10 years. Well, again, meaning you will no longer be compatible with one another. People, again, denying the relevance of choice. You can grow together with people. It is possible. It is possible. I think, the problem is, though, a lot of couples, what happens to them is that they end up suffocating one another. And so there's no mystery left in the relationship. And that can kind of lead to a stagnation of the passion. But at the same time, even if that is the case, you can still make a positive choice to be monogamous and to continue to choose loyalty to that person and to choose to dedicate yourself to them, even if they've changed. I mean, again, this way these people see it, like, I just wonder with this person, what's being written here is kind of childish too. I wonder like how old they actually are, saying like that after 10 years, you're not going to be compatible. This is one area you can't even try to cherry pick your way out of, because there are no examples of two virgins getting together because they both fell in love with each other and then staying together for the rest of their lives, i.e. actual monogamy. I mean, yes, there are. Yes, there are. It's rare. But I don't know, like, do you think that just because the culture is so depraved, do you think that because the culture is so depraved at this point that there aren't people who choose to remain virgins and marry as virgins and stay faithful to their partners? There are. I have met them. I have met people who were virgins when they married, and they've been married for decades. And that's beautiful. It's not my experience, unfortunately. Maybe things would be better for me if it was, but like, it's more common than you think. It's not improbable. Like, and I just wonder, like, what is with this person's world? There's no examples. Like, I can think of a couple. I can think of a couple people who were like that, or a couple of couples, I should say, that are like this. I know. It's silly. It's silly. Like, I just wonder, is a teenager writing this? Like, you can't really believe that. And here, this person, again, Ken, commenting, if you observe the right-wing culture warriors, you will notice that they are not happy people ever. They are miserable themselves. And the idea of being happy for anyone else is utterly beyond them. like, really, this is about your happiness. You need to be okay. Like, again, when people are like this, I just like somebody even like this. Somebody even like this, reading these comments, reading this person's comments, the impression I've gotten of him is just already so like, so, it's like, Thank you for sitting with me and letting me process these comments. I needed I needed other people to see and hear them because like I have to deal with these on my own and it's challenging. The only quote unquote joy they get, and it's really just fleeting smugness, is when they can tear down other people. That is, I think they're applying this to me. Again, I'm not even a right-wing culture warrior. I'm not even like, I don't identify that way at all. I don't. I listen to conservatives, but again, it's not my entire world, and I don't really know where to even put myself on the political spectrum anymore. I really don't, and I don't think it matters because I guess my politics have just become more like rooted in wanting to preserve our culture and preserve, our country in the best way possible so that the people living here, the citizens here, can prosper. I don't really want to put that. I think that's something that goes beyond politics. I mean, I'm really concerned, I think, about the heart and soul of our nation and like the division in it. That I don't like the division. And I guess that's me, where I'm kind of just like, I'm not here to be divisive. I'm really not. I'm here to try to like be anything but. And I know that's impossible sometimes, but like I see the humanity of all people around the political spectrum, and I just want people to overcome, the things that hold them back in their spirits. So, yeah, and then they're getting they are profoundly unhappy and want to do whatever they can to make sure they try to snuff out any happiness they see others experiencing because it reminds them of their miserable state. I have never met anyone in a polyamorous situation, or, and by this I mean situation, because these situations involve multiple people. I've never met people involved in these situations that weren't miserable. And I think, again, this is my observation from people I have known. I have had dear friends get involved with this kind of shit. Okay. Pardon my language. Excuse me. I don't like to swear on the channel, or in general, but it's what it is. Like, I have observed people who I care about ruin their lives and relationships because they buy into this nonsense. That is right, Kira. That is so true. It is, it makes you miserable trying to live up to something that, you're a human being. You're not a belief. You're more complex than that. For real. I mean, I believe in Christianity, though. I am a Christian, but again, most people don't. They get caught up in the religion of it and not the lessons that we're meant to take away from Christ. Do you think marriage is necessary for a long-term relationship, or I believe that marriage is necessary if you're going to have a sexual relationship. Like, if your relationship is going to be a romantic sexual one, I think you should get married. And I honestly, I don't think, in terms of myself, and when I was in my 20s, I had a long-term relationship that, I was in for several years, and it was a real waste of my time. And I wasn't wise enough at the time. I was very left wing at the time. I was caught up in all that like socialism, communist politics. So I didn't think anything was, and my parents too, like had me, they weren't married, and being raised in kind of like by my father, a single parent household by a dad, but still that was complicated. I didn't see or understand, the proper order of doing things. I never had it kind of modeled for me. And I was into all these politics that were basically kind of like against traditionalism. So I thought that, it'd be okay to like get into a long-term relationship and live with a man. And it wasn't. It was a really, and I haven't made that mistake again, because honestly, like they get there, it's very a crude analogy, but like, why are they going to buy the cow if they get the milk for free? Like, you're doing all the basic duties of a wife and you're getting none of the rewards. It's a bad deal. And like, you really end up feeling used, by the end of it. Like, I felt very used by him. Like, I did not feel loved. I didn't feel like honored or protected or even respected. And when it dissolved, I broke up the relationship. He went away one weekend to visit some family. He came back and told me this stupid story about him being like irresponsible and hurting himself. And I just, I like looked at him and I was like, I want to break up. It had been building for a while, but it was a horrible situation. Like, but I was young too. And, like I said, I didn't really know better. But you have to learn from these situations. You have to learn, like, I honestly, like, at this point, I'm not going to be involved in a relationship for multiple years without a marriage. Like, what's the point of that? I'll date someone, I'll date them, but like, I'm not going to be exclusive to them. If it's not going towards marriage, what's the point? I don't see, I'm and I'm at the age, like, I'm not young anymore. I'm not old, but I'm 38. I don't have time to be just, I don't know, like, silly about it. Either things are done in the right way or they're not done at all. That's how I see it. Yeah, I don't see, like, you're not missing out on anything. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah, of course I remember the 2004 elections. Those were the first ones I was able to vote in, although I didn't vote in that election. That's interesting. Yeah, I need to think about it a bit. I mean, how much do I remember? Actually, now I'm looking back. Yeah, you know what? A bit. I can see what you're talking about. 2004. That was the year I graduated high school. God. Ugh. In today's world, marriage is only necessary if you make a family. I think, though, I don't think you need to make a family, though. Like, if a couple gets married and they, don't have kids, they can still do good things. A marriage is still a good union to have for other reasons, for the good of each other and for the good of your community. Again, people can build better. Marriage, it's meant to be this thing that improves both parties and brings out the best in them. So I think, even for couples who aren't going to have kids, or they're infertile or whatever, I think marriage can still be a good thing because it provides this, covenant where you have that security with someone else. And then, your family becomes theirs, their family becomes yours. And, you've also, can contribute to your community together. You can support one another. If a man doesn't have children, but he has a wife that he has to help support, like that can help him develop in his career more, earn more money. And then you're able to give more to your community. You're able to invest more. It's still a good thing for the parties involved. It would also enable, I think, more creativity on the part of the members. It's a good thing. I think marriage is good for people generally. And again, I think marriage, we kind of put a lot of emphasis on it for having kids, but ultimately the marriage is a relationship between the wife and husband. I think Jesse Lee Peterson, he did last week or something, a clip of a woman who had been, when her husband came home from work, the kids would all rush up and greet him and hug and kiss him. And then she was like, we wanted to make it so, we were first in one another's marriage. And then the way she described this, though, was that he would kiss her before and greet her before he did the kids. And then I was like, okay, that's not what that means. But I do think that, sometimes in marriages, a lot of the reasons why they fail or why I've seen them fail and see people have difficulties in their marriage is that they put the kids on a pedestal before their spouse. Or, they change the order of importance. Like wives will put the kids before the husband. And you can't do that in a marriage. You have to put that person first. So, even if you don't have kids, if you have the right orientation in your marriage, then I think you can do a lot of good, for yourself and others and, for one another. So I think it still is a necessity. I still think people should get married whether or not, I think when older people get married, that's a good thing. It's better to have someone than to not. It's good to have a companion. It is not, as God said, it's not good for man to be alone. Two heads are better than one. And, maybe your purpose is not to have kids. Maybe you have a different calling from the Lord. What is that going to be? If you have a spouse by your side, you're going to have help doing it and accomplishing it. Not every path is the same. So that's just kind of my take on that. Yeah, no, I agree that you don't have to be, but I am. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so you both were well, that person was saying it's not possible. It's not, you don't, how could that be? It's silly. Of course, I've met people, I know couples, they were, they met, they remained chaste until marriage. They saved themselves for marriage, and it's a good thing. People tend to be less happy in relationships the more of them they have. You notice that they're a lot more dissatisfied, because they're comparing. They have all this comparison, this person isn't as good as a lover as this person. This person doesn't do it like that person, and that's not a good space to be in, and then, the more relationships and sexual entanglements you have, the more likelihood you've had drama and baggage and, misery and strife and pain because of sinning. Yeah, that's beautiful. See, you improve the other one. Yeah. Right. I know people talk about that, because I've talked with a friend about this some months ago. I said, I'm, not going to, I mean, I have been celibate for some years now, but I said specifically that I was, if I do meet someone, if I do intend to get married, I am not going to be having sex, before marriage. That's not going to happen. I basically said that. And she was shocked. She was like, what? How will you know if they're any good? Like, what if they can't, what if, I'm like, my response to that was like, well, first off, that's not the reason to marry someone just because they're good at, doing it. But, also like there's, I think that's something that can be worked on, that's something that can be improved if there's some issue. But like, ultimately, like, I don't know. I didn't know what to respond to that. I was just kind of like, I'm not, I think I told her I'm not hard to please, is what I said. But, it's just like, it's so silly. Like, to make that, it is important, but I think it is important. And that's why I want it to be kind of special. Like, I don't want it to be something, like, I want it to be something special. I want it to be something unique. I want it to be something that I'm only giving to one person. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to be, I want it to be something that's preserved. That is a good point, Stacy. Yes, he does. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we we act as though, like, again, we try to like lean on our own understanding about things sometimes, but like sometimes it's just that these instructions have been put forward because it's what's best for us. Ultimately, there's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom in only having one partner. It saves you from, potentially contracting STDs. It saves you from, having children with the wrong person. It saves you from a lot of misery and strife. So yeah, it removes complication from your life. Well, I think you can tell that you're going to have that with someone without, I think that's there whether, you're doing it or not. You know what I mean? Like, I can tell when I interact with someone if I have that. I don't need to like actually sleep with them to tell. do you? I mean, like, like if you're attracted to them, they're attracted to you, you flirt, you know how you interact with one another, you can tell that you're going to be compatible. You don't need to take it to that level to know. Yeah, I mean, I think it's down to like, most of it is down to the attraction. And like, I think too, I mean, the more you build it, the better it is. That's something that can be built over time, that kind of chemistry and desire. I think, it's the reservation is sometimes what makes it good. Oh, yeah. I know I do. I don't know about hang-ups, but like there's a lot of stuff out there that people are into that freaks me out. So, some people might say that I'm a prude or hung up or like whatever, So hang-ups is kind of, and then there's other hang-ups that people have though that are kind of like more difficult. But again, if they've saved themselves and you've saved yourself, there's a level of trust there. Now, I know that a lot of people aren't even on this level, or they're, a lot of people listening, maybe you've had multiple partners in the past. So to you, like this, you're trying to observe something that isn't like, but if somebody does have that, I think you want to be with somebody who is compatible with you. So like to me, when I think about like, if I get married, is that person going to be a virgin? Probably not. Just, when I get married, if I get married, and when I think about it in my mind, how I'm living my life, what an ideal relationship would look like. They probably won't be. But so if that's the case, they're going to know about that. I figure that would be something that like we would talk about. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There's no guarantees in this life, but I still think doing it that way is important. I don't like, and this is again, it's like, I don't know, the hangups. It's not a big deal. It's you're like, we're worried about these things more than we're worried about our chastity and doing things the right way. Oh no, what if the sex isn't good? Oh no, like, oh no, what if it's just okay? What if it's just okay? Okay, so yeah, this person, look at this person doing the video in 2 hours of droning on. Do I drone on, y'all? I do sometimes. I know I do. I saw no hint of any real smile. No lines to suggest ever having smiled much. And the exhausted, empty stare of someone who sees life as a sentence to be endured, not a gift to be celebrated. Man, this person doesn't see me at all. This person really doesn't see me at all, which is good. I mean, they can't, if you're living in darkness, how can you see, what's right in front of you? No, I'm not saying my life is perfect or that I never have a down day, but I'm grateful for each day and smile a lot, and in no small part due to my life partners. Yeah, so, okay. Yeah, those were some interesting responses. Wow. Wow. I have a resting smile. Some people have RBF. I don't. I have the opposite. Like, I generally have a smile on my face. So it's kind of interesting reading that, maybe because I was talking about a very serious topic that I find upsetting. Maybe I wasn't smiling in the video. And like, no lines to suggest that I've ever smiled. So I need to have wrinkles to prove it to you. Like, I need to have more visible wrinkles. Like, there are lines in my face. Maybe they're not as pronounced as they could be. I'm sure time will take care of that. But, I don't understand. Like, it's just ascribing misery to me. Like, I find it so interesting because it's not like I ever, I didn't take apart someone else in that way. As I was talking about my video, I talked about things that I had witnessed and experienced just encountering this phenomenon. However, like, they're very offended and they have to like come for me. They have to like come and personally attack me about it and be like, oh, well, I'm so happy. I'm so happy and superior and you're so miserable. I'm like, you seem it, you seem it. Whatever. Is that person woke scolding me? I mean, it wasn't addressed to me. You know, that's the thing too. It's always interesting with the comment section. I hate it. I do. It's one of the most difficult things about having like a platform is dealing with the comment section and wondering in my mind, like, what do I respond to? What do I, let go? How much freedom of speech do I allow here? I do value people's freedom to express themselves, but I do think people take advantage of that sometimes, and I also have to be like, people can be very personally insulting. So this has been a struggle, like, for me to, like, obviously not take it personally. It's not going to, like, the fact that people have come for me and, they've come for me in greater ways than this over the years, videos made, etc. Like extreme online bullying has happened in the past. I've been through it, but it's still, even after all these years, I get these comments sometimes and like, they're about me. They're on my video where I uploaded this video. I made this video, I recorded it. But they're not addressed to me, but they are about me. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting too, because I've dealt with that. Like, I remember one time there was this woman, who would leave like disparaging comments from time to time on my videos. And I don't know if I Googled myself, because I don't generally do that, but there was some reason I found like myself being discussed on Mumsnet. So I like looked up Terri Strange on Mumsnet, and this woman who had interacted with on YouTube was on there, and she was like saying somebody was talking about one of my videos and how they didn't agree with it and how they didn't like kind of what I was saying about mothers specifically. And again, I did a whole series years ago about kind of the ways that the differences between mothers and women who are not mothers, and like kind of how they interact with one another, and social hierarchy in groups, and again, a lot of those observations, I've taken those videos down because they were like very divisive and difficult. So and I don't want to like really be, I don't really want to be on that anymore. Like, it's just not, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I really don't. And I think a lot of women just don't want to hear it too. Like, a lot of women don't want to hear, that. And it is, and I do think it is unnecessary, like, as well. Like, if it comes up, I can observe it, but I'm not going to, like, I don't think it's a hill to die on. But anyway, like, yeah, this woman was saying, like, responded to the woman who just wanted to discuss my video. This woman, though, started launching in and discussing me personally and saying negative things about my family, which I know for me, like, I haven't always behaved the best, on my channel. I haven't behaved the best in my life. Like, I'm aware of that. But please don't bring my family into it. Please don't. It is not my family's fault that I have acted badly. I was an adult making my own choices, doing my own thing. My family had nothing to do with it. And I love these people, and I know I'm a reflection of them to a certain degree, but I'm also an individual. Like, do not bring my family into it. It's insulting. Like, they basically said that, just saying disparaging thing for my family, about my family, and like, they failed me or something. So therefore, I'm going to just be crazy, essentially. And I hate that kind of stuff, because my family didn't fail me. They, maybe they could have done better, but they did the best with what they had. I don't have animosity towards my family. Again, I love them. These are my family, like for better or worse, these people, have been there for me. And I love my family. Like maybe that's not clear, but I do. So I was just kind of like disgusted by that. So I saw that. I'm not on Mumsnet, so I didn't say anything there, but I was like, oh, there's that woman. Anyway, like later on, I was on, this is so funny. I was on Leah's channel because Amy was here. I know you had a disagreement with Leah and ended up hashing it out on my channel. But yeah, I was on her channel and I responded to one of her videos. I left a comment and that woman, the same woman, same name, popped up and like responded to me and was like all agreeing with me and saying, just whatever. And I was like, excuse me, lady who was disparaging my family members because of me, because I'm so disagreeable. I don't know. I kind of want to go off about that. And I do need to wrap up because I do have my Bible study at 7:00, which is in less than 10 minutes. But what I will say, like, it is difficult to know how to handle the comment section. And I do think I do like being live because I think I have more control and the conversation could be a bit more natural when people are commenting. Amen. Amen. I'm very like, I don't care. Okay. Oh, I'm not happy enough for you. So what? My mommy privilege series. It was awesome. Man, I had people in their feelings. I had these women so mad. I had them so mad. They were kicking off. They were like, going off all triggered. They were just like, I was beaten. I was raped. My ex-husband like did this, that, and the other. You have no idea like what I have to put up with my kids. No. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, you still are entitled and you still act these ways. But again, like, that's a personal failing. And I don't want to get into and why I took those down. I don't want to get into dehumanizing people because of whatever group they can get lumped in. Okay. The issue is the character of the person. There are mothers that have great characters, who are people of good character, who will treat you as an individual, who will not treat you as less than or a child just because you don't have kids. Okay. And this is a problem in our culture as well. Like I see so many people going off about the child-free woman or, or you're just choosing your career versus like, having a husband and kids. It's like, it's not that simple. You have a lot of opinions about a life you haven't had to live. If you haven't walked in another person's shoes, you don't really know what has been before them and what choices they've had to make to get them to the point where they're at today. So it's so dehumanizing. Again, and I don't want to do that to other people either. I want to avoid that kind of content. So like I try to, but I'm glad you liked it. That's so true. That's so true. Yeah, there's a ton of different holes you can get sucked into. Thank you, Amy. Thank you. Yeah, and it's again, never take it personally. Bye, Gigi. Suffered my follies. Well, I'm glad if it's, been resolved and, you got to see each other's humanity through it. That's important, But yeah, I guess I have to run. And you know what? I haven't even done my nails. I've just been sitting here chatting. I'm going to have to do them during the Bible study, which is probably for the best because it means I will listen more and talk less. Right? And I've been talking enough. So I don't know. I guess I'm just wrapping up this stream now. We didn't even get to the video I wanted to watch. But we can do that on another stream. Who can find a virtuous woman? Where is she? Where's she at? What does it even mean? What does it mean to you? What are the virtues? Do you have them? How can you get them? And if you don't have them, how do you develop them? And what are the paths to find them? There's 4 cardinal virtues, right? Wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. Okay? Do you have these? And if not, why not? And how can you find them? And maybe you need to watch The Wizard of Oz. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, thank you. Thank you all for showing up and chatting. It was nice to be on. I intend to be on again sometime soon. Like I said, it's been busy the past few weeks, but things have slowed down a little bit. I should be resuming a more normal schedule. Amy has them all. Good. Yeah, a well-rounded person does. All right. Well, take care, everybody. Have a good night. And for those watching on catch up, leave your thoughts if you wish. Farewell.